New Buddhaware Dhamma Talks. Geoff Hunt presents a talk on some aspect of the Buddha's teaching.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all again. Right, today we're going to talk about everyday practice. Everyday practice does not mean that you practice every day or that you have a time slot when you're going to practice. That's not what is meant by everyday practice every day. What it means is taking advantage of everything ordinarily that goes on and raise your level of awareness to it as much as possible. It doesn't have to be all the time. But it's taking advantage of the things that are going on in ordinary life and just being aware of those. So you don't need any special equipment. We could go out and buy a cushion, which costs 30, 40 pounds, or buy a bell. All these things are very nice and they can be supportive. But strictly speaking, we don't need any of them at all. We also don't really need a book of instructions, which of course I've written. There's nothing wrong with those, but they're not the point. They're only directing you towards your life. That's your life as it is lived every day. Whether you think it's boring, banal, exciting, or whatever it is, that is the life that you've got, and that is where we do our practice. You may have noticed in the newsletter that there was, I think I put it there, a little talk from somebody called Nansen. I'll read that to you again. This is a Zen saying. You know, Zen is part of the northern part of Buddhism in Japan, China, and so on. And there are some important differences with Theravada. Anyway, a certain character called Joshu asked another character called Nansen, what is the path? Now, Nansen is obviously the teacher here, and Joshu is asking the questions as a follower. What is the path? Asks Joshu. And Nansen says, everyday life is the path. So Joshu was a little bit puzzled by this, expecting something exotic, no doubt. Joshu then asked, well, can it be studied? If it's everyday life, then surely there's nothing to study, is there? Now let's get this right. This is not a teaching that says study is wrong. It's saying study is not enough. That is what is it saying. It's not the important thing. So Joshu asked, well, can it be studied then? Because he's assuming that if it's everyday stuff, ordinary stuff, washing dishes, etc., then can you study that? Well, yes and no. So Nansen said in reply, if you try to study it, you will be far away from it. This is typical Zen stuff. They use contradictions and paradoxes to get you to think in the right direction. If you try to study, you will be far away from it. Now, again, it looks as though he's speaking against studying, but he's not really. He's saying the more pressure you put on, or the more importance you attach to the study, that's looking at a lot of books, or a lot of words, listening to a lot of teachers, the more you are not doing something that you should be doing. You've got everything that you need, really, and that is you're conscious, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. And you lead a life. You're a living, conscious being. So you've got everything that you need, actually, because when you get up in the morning, open your eyes, another day starts, another day of your life. Not just another day, but a day of your life. So the real important thing is to pay attention to what is going on in your mind as you lead your life. Now, you will have noticed there are large chunks in which we're not very aware of ourselves. So we're quite similar to a pet cat or pet dog in the sense that we're just going about doing things, but we're not very aware of our doing those things. I don't know whether cats and dogs can meditate. Sometimes they look as though they can. But we can, which is to raise our level of awareness of what it is that is going on in our minds. Because that's where the trouble starts, and that's where the happiness starts. So Nansen said, if you try to study it, you will be far away from it. So he's suggesting that if you were to exclusively spend your time studying it, and I noticed behind Lynn's head there's a whole bunch of books, and if you look behind my head, there's a whole bunch of books. The Buddha's not against books. Well, I don't think he was anyway. And most Buddhists do study books. The books are not enough. And what is the role of the books? The role of the books is not to gather a lot of theoretical knowledge and show off. It's nothing but a bunch of instructions. What the Buddha has taught and what other people wrote down is really meant a bunch of instructions. That is something you have to do with your mind, getting to know your mind, which I know sounds a little bit circular. Okay, so what comes next? Joshua said, if I do not study, because you said it'll be far away, I'll be going far away. If I do not study, how can I know it is the path? Good question, isn't it? A naive question, but it's a good question. How can I know that I am on the path if I don't study it? Well, Joshua is being a bit stubborn here. He's saying, well, ideally, you don't actually need to study in the sense of thinking through things as theories or something of that kind, that is explanations. We're not, and this is really important, we're not in Buddhism really looking for explanations. That is what causes what. We're being given a set of instructions. How often I've said this in the last 20 years, I don't know. Instructions say, do this, or at least try this yourself, on yourself. Now, we could spend, you can see how we could go astray and spend an awful lot of time reading books and magazines and the rest of it. It's not a waste of time, but it's not a waste of time if, in addition to that, or more importantly than that, you are getting to know the workings of your own mind. And by mind, we mean heart and mind. That is also your emotions, your emotional responses to things, as well as your thoughts, your calculations, your explanations, etc. Everything that's in your mind. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling irritated, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling impatient, all of those things, they are your teachers. The teachers are right there with you in your own mind. That's interesting, isn't it? So strictly speaking, we don't really, you might say, need books at all. But that's a bit rough on, that would be a bit rough on we lay people who need some help here. So let's say, study yourself first, read the books second. Right. So Joshua is asking, if I do not study, how can I know it is the path? And Nansen says, if you want to reach the true path, now notice he's added a word, the true path, as opposed then to the false path. The false path here would be to become a Buddhologist. A Buddhologist is one who studies Buddhism. So what you are is a practitioner of the Buddha Dharma. You're doing something on yourself. It's not spooky, it's quite natural, because you do it from time to time anyway. It's now giving it more importance. And structuring it in a particular way. So Nansen said, if you want to reach the true path beyond doubt, now let's come back to that because it's, the words here are all very important. Beyond doubt, place yourself in the same freedom as the sky. Now this again, typical Zen thing. Place yourself in the same freedom as the sky. Then you will name it is neither good nor good or not good. It is simply what it is. The sky is not good. It's not bad. It is the sky. That's it. Now, when I do my little exercises every morning, I go outside in the garden. I spend up to 30 minutes doing some exercises. One thing that I always end with, and you might try this, is looking at the sky. You might think, look at that bloke over there. What the devil is he doing? There's something wrong with him. He's gazing at the sky. All the people that don't ever gaze at the sky, they're the normal ones. But the person who stands there and looks at the sky and just contemplates with a kind of an emptiness, really, but a perfect calm. Sky is always there. It may be blue, it may be gray, but it's still the sky, right? And just look at it and become the sky in the sense that there's nothing in the sky that makes it the sky. It is just the sky. It is emptiness, which is where Zen people are always going, ultimately. So you will name it then as neither good nor not good. That's beyond duality, which we talk about in the root session. Okay, let's go back to the true path. Now, he sneaked that word in there. So now he suggests that there's a true path and there's a path that isn't actually the true path. It just looks like the path. Well, we're coming back to what we've already said. Reading a lot of books and not doing anything about understanding yourself is not the true path. It is a path, but it's not the true path. The true path doesn't require any books, any chair to sit on, any cushion to sit on, any particular place to be. Wherever you are, that's where you should be for the purposes of following the Dharma. So if you want to follow the true path is always with you. It never leaves you. It's just that you tend to switch it down to a very low level sometimes, like a radio that you switch down till it's almost off, or sometimes it does go off for a moment or two. But we want to turn it up. Now, why does he say true path beyond doubt? Now, there's a great parsimony of words here. He's being very, all the words mean something. Look at it this way. If somebody says, I've been reading a book about the Buddha, and I've just learned this or that about what the Buddha said, etc., right? That person is finding out a lot about Buddhism. But how do they find out something critical about themselves and the control that they have over their own minds? Only by looking at themselves. They can't get it from anywhere else. So when you see things for the first time as they really are, that is beyond doubt. Why is it beyond doubt? It's because it's your own experience. You can't doubt your own experience. Look at it this way. If you're feeling irritated, you are feeling irritated beyond doubt. Nobody can say, no, you're not really. Of course I am. I know that I'm feeling irritated. And you're saying that I'm not feeling irritated is making me even more irritated. So you know, without doubt, that right now I am feeling irritated. For example, there's a whole range of things here. There are good things as well. Feeling joyful, feeling grateful. I know that I'm feeling grateful and it feels good. So there can be no doubt. It doesn't matter then what the books say. You see, the books are like, how having a walking stick, let's say a walking stick or a crutch, to help you along. So to that extent, they have value. But if you become dependent on the walking stick, and everywhere you go forever will be with the walking stick, then you're not making full use of the walking stick. The walking stick is helping you to walk without the walking stick. So a time will come when you don't need the walking stick anymore. Do you see the greatest monks, whether Zen or Theravada or whatever, carrying around a bucket full of, or a truck full of books with them? No. They'll tell you, well, I've got everything that I need. From the time I wake up in the morning, the time I go to sleep, and even like some of the night as well, in my dreams, that is my reality, and that is all I'm concerned with. Not with the reality that somebody tells me, but with the reality that is exclusively mine. It is me. It is mine. It's there all the time. That's me. That's mine. That's what I take to be me. That's what I reconstruct as me every single day. So there's no doubt. There's no doubt about what you're learning from this. Does it make some sense for somebody to say, okay, yeah, you're feeling irritated, but I doubt whether you really are? I suppose they could be play acting for some reason. But you can't doubt somebody's feeling about something, or that they're having a particular thought. So for you, it is what you learn from yourself that is important, not what you learn from others. Others, like what I'm doing here, is pointing the way. I'm saying this is how you do it, but I'm not giving you a theory. So when we talk about the Buddha's path, and after all, I wrote a book called The Buddha's Path of Peace, what are we actually doing? What we are actually trying to do is give you a set of instructions. So if you look at the book that I wrote, and you don't have to, but if you did, you would see that it's got a lot of instructions, exercises, parables, metaphors, little stories about people and their worries, because that's actually where the Dharma is. Where on earth could where else could it exist? I mean, does Amazon have a great big store of Dharma? No, the store is in your mind. Right, so that's where you learn. So that is what is meant by whether you have a path or you don't have a path. In one sense, you have a path, and in another sense, you have a path that is not very helpful, but can point you in the right direction. Yeah. Now let's look at the everyday path. The everyday path is everything you do since you wake up and go back to sleep, and even in between, because you may wake up and wander about like I do occasionally, or have dreams about something or other, or your mind becomes totally disconnected from your awareness, and in your mind you're living some episode from the past, for example. That's where the learning about the Dharma is. It's in all that. It's not science. Science is trying to explain things from the outside. Dharma is learning from the inside. So actually they're very, very different. That is why, I probably irritated a lot of people by saying we're not trying to do science, we're not trying to explain things. There's nothing wrong with explaining how X came about by means of A, B, and C. All of that is very useful, but it's not the Dharma. We don't need to explain things in the Dharma. We need to look at ourselves. It's a different process, and to do so honestly. Okay, so the path could become an attachment. So I'm attached to the path. That would not be Right, because then the mind is, you see, the mind likes to work with little models, analogies of things that you can make use of. But also it points one in the wrong direction very often. Because when we think of a path, there's a trap there. The path goes from A to B to C. You want to get to C, so you're going to have to travel along through B and get to C. So C is our destination. Now, by thinking that way, we're already getting attached to the path as something external, something that is not me, but something I ought to follow. Okay, well, think about this. The path is not actually from here to there. It's from here to here. Think about that, because it's quite profound, actually. It's not very simple. That's what I like about Zen. It will package something in just a few words, which is very profound, although it may not look like it makes sense. So the path is not from here to there, over there. I'm not going over there. I'm going from here to here. Only this time round, I'm aware of it. Okay. Look, if you've got this, you don't need me anymore. Just tell me where to go. Yeah, you don't, because you then get on with it. Then I don't have to get up every Sunday morning. I can just stay in bed an extra 30 minutes or so. Okay, so from here to here, not from here to there. If you think you've got a destination, which could be nirvana, for example, then you've already stymied yourself. It's the here where the learning goes. So the path is a path from here to here. Okay, if you really need an image, you could think, well, if it's from here to here, in the sense that I'm here looking out, then I'm going to do something, and something will have changed, but I'll still be here. Well, it would be like, for example, climbing up a ladder in the same place, looking out from the same place, but now you've got a much wider view of things. So that's one way in which you could go from here to here, is to climb up a ladder and look out from the same place, but now with a wider vision of things. Okay? Okay. So quite a lot of notes I put down yesterday, so I don't want to bore you with it all, but let's see what we've got. By every day, we also mean the ordinary. So what's going on ordinarily? Well, the dishes always need to be washed, that's for sure. And usually they need to be dried. And your clothes need to be washed, and they need to be dried and probably ironed. And the cat has to be fed. Mobile phone has to be charged up. It's amazing how much time we spend on all these little things that we might call trivial or ordinary. But for the Buddha, they're not trivial and they're not ordinary. That is your life you're talking about there. And that is where you learn. You learn from your own life. See? Okay. Too many notes. You see, once I start writing, then you can't stop me, really. Okay, another way of looking at it is, some of us think of the path, the Dharma path, as an addition, something I've added to what I already know. Is it an addition? Now think about it. The Dharma I'm talking about, which is the Dharma of your everyday life, which is the only Dharma we've got, is that an addition? Is something that you've brought in from the outside and they wrote, now I've got that as well? No, because in a sense, you always had it. It was always there. You just weren't aware of it. Not being aware of it, you didn't really enter into the Dharma. Okay? So in one sense, it is an addition because I've got a book about it and I've studied the book and now I understand it and I can explain it to somebody else. But it's still an open question whether you're actually transforming yourself by understanding your own mind and its ups and downs and where it's going. When I'm angry, I know I'm angry. When I'm joyful, I know I'm joyful. When I'm jealous, I know I'm jealous, etc., etc., etc. I know those things. So this is being at a completely different standpoint from where you were before. But it's not going to take you to nirvana. Nirvana is every day. If you are really looking into your own mind and understand your own mind, then you will reach a point of, wow, how I see. If that ain't nirvana, I don't know what it is. You got the wrong idea if you think that nirvana is at the end of some path. There can be 100 nirvanas every day. Every time there's a little bit of insight. I don't know how to put this insight. Something like this is me. I'm talking to myself, and I know how I feel, and I know how I would feel if I changed certain circumstances, etc., etc., etc. You're now looking inwards. Okay. I could spend a few hours here on this, but I'm going to try to. Let's look at the other things that go on in ordinary life. In ordinary life, so-called ordinary life, and the only life we have is ordinary, right? So I mean, see how I'm dualizing. There's ordinary life, and then there's special life. Special life is sitting on a cushion doing the Dharma, and then there's something called, ordinary life. Anyway, in ordinary life, one thing you may notice is how many squabbles go on, especially if you're living with others. It's quite an extraordinary amount of energy we put into having a squabble with somebody. No, I'm right and you're wrong. That you can't see that you're wrong, but I can see that you're wrong. I'm going to tell you how. But you don't agree with me. And so it goes on. I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. It's rather sad, really, if you think of it this way, that we have this consciousness, this awareness at quite a high level that our cats and dogs, God bless them, may occasionally get glimpses of. I don't really know whether they do, but it seems unlikely that, it seems likely that we have a sort of special gift. But we'd rather have squabbles with each other, or at the other end of the scale, threaten each other with nuclear missiles. We can be quite a deranged creature, really, given the power we have of our own consciousness. But misuse it, and you can produce horrors for the human race. Okay, so arguments. Now, you can become quite adept at noticing when a quarrel is going to build up if you take a certain path, or if you say a certain thing. Sometimes the whole thing hangs on one word. Say that word, and off we go on another quarrel, another argument. How about just not speaking? Have you ever thought of that? Sometimes not saying something. And it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. What matters is whether you're in pain or not. And if you're going to get into a quarrel, you're going to be in pain. Both sides are in pain. That is what we should be avoiding, not avoiding falsity. You keep your falsity and I'll keep mine, but both of us are going to work on our happiness. And sometimes happiness comes from not saying something, or not doing a particular fairly trivial thing, or showing that you care, showing that you're helpful, showing that you're compassionate. Surprise, surprise, I can wash the dishes. I don't feel like it, but I'm going to wash the dishes and I'm going to do it well. My favorite example. You might get the idea I've got a problem with washing dishes. I have occasionally, but it depends. Okay, so arguments. If you think about arguments that people have, and you're both convinced, because I've seen this with my own family. They're both convinced that they're right. And maybe in some way that they are, but it doesn't really matter that much. What is often going on is what you might call micromanagement. Being conscious beings, we want things to be the way we want them to be. But unfortunately, there is this other person that gets in the way because they've got some other idea. So let's have a good argument about it. And then make ourselves unhappy. And then pass judgments, of course, and then pass judgments on each other. I think you're a difficult person. No, I think you're a difficult person. There's no end to that one. So micromanagement, that is a desire to control every little thing. You put the knives there and you put the forks there. No, you can put them anywhere you like. No, you can put them there and you have to put them there. Blah, blah, blah. Almost anything, as trivial as it is, we can turn into a desire to control, to make things the way. This is really ironic when you think that the whole of our experience, the whole of our knowledge is based on continuous, unstoppable change. We are all getting older. There's nothing you can do about that. The world is changing. Every minute, every second, the world is changing. There is nothing you can do about it. Well, let me not exaggerate. You can sometimes bend things one way or another, but on the whole, you can't. I've only got to mention the word pandemic and you see what I mean. Okay, so what can we do? You know, you see, the everyday Dharma is the Dharma of squabbling. It doesn't arise where there is authentic following of the Dharma, of understanding what the Dharma is. One probably, you know, being lay people and not monks or nuns, we could spend a lot, we could do a lot by not entering into disagreements. Just let them go. You could be dead any moment. You could be dead next week. Maybe we'll all be hit by a meteorite and we'll all be dead next week. What was the point of arguing about, you know, to take a recent example? Do you like to have your lawn, if you've got a lawn, that is, which is an important point, not everybody's got a lawn, but if you've got a lawn, do you like the lawn that is perfect? It's a lawn that's neatly trimmed, neatly cut. It's what is sometimes called a manicured lawn. I look out the window and I look at my lawn, I think, oh my goodness, we should get out there and cut that lawn. What should we? Some people will say, no, leave the lawn alone, it doesn't matter. Just cut it now and then if you've got the time, but don't worry about it. You've got some dandelions growing up there, but they're very nice, beautiful orange color. Another person is got to manicure the lawn. They can now have a quarrel about that. They can have not just a quarrel, they can have another quarrel about that. It could go on for 10 or 20 years. Because they're seeing their reality in different ways. For some, a lawn is something to be cut. For other people, it's just a patch of grass. That's everyday Dharma, seeing the difference. Right, I'm definitely going to stop talking because I see I've gone about at least 5 minutes over the top. Okay, well, let's unleash the animal in all of us and see what we can think about this. Everyday Dharma. It's with you all the time. It's not an addition. Okay, I'll stop talking.
New Buddha Way lets go of East and West and starts afresh in the life we have now. For more information, visit www.newbuddhaway.org.